Ooh, yes, I believe we're live. Let's check. Quick check on YouTube. All right, this is it. This is it. Yes, awesome. Okay. Thank you so much, people, for being here, for waiting. Um, I'm here with Patrick Valenza,
I
the maker of, well, my favorite deck, Trionfi Della Luna, and Deviant Moon, obviously. Many more decks. I will list a few in a second. I want to say hi to some people. Antoinette is here. Tammy Pie, hello, hello. Nikki, awesome. Okay, guys, thank you so much for being here. So, Patrick,
I
thank you so much for doing this with me.
thank
Um,
you.
Obviously, we had a short little chat before pressing live button, but let us know, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. Feeling good. My hand is finally healed after a long surgery. I was out for about 4 or 5 months doing PT. I had some torn tendons in my wrist, carpal tunnel, all that kind of stuff, and um, there was a risk that I wouldn't have the same dexterity as I did going into it. And luckily, everything's working great. Everything. I have no more pain to draw, and I'm putting in a lot of hours on my artwork, which is really awesome.
Oh, that's so good to hear. So good to hear. And so, where in the world are you right now?
I'm in a little cemetery here on Long Island, something that I found many, many years ago. It's a little quiet family plot in the woods next to a housing. A couple houses are nearby, and very quiet place. And I did a lot of texture work here for the Deviant Moon back when I created it in 2006, I believe. I came here and took hundreds of pictures of the backs of tombstones and some of the trees here, and a lot of that was incorporated into the deck.
Wow, that's so cool. You take a lot of inspiration from your surroundings.
Yeah, pretty much. Long Island happens to have four abandoned insane asylums all around, circling me pretty much, and it was great to get in there and take tons and tons of photos before the gangs took over here and graffitied everything. I got it when it was pretty pristine, and luckily I have a nice catalog of photos and images that I draw from, and it's a great place to be. Lots of old New England kind of cemeteries and things that I have always loved since I was a kid.
Absolutely. Tell me by saying, how not surprised are we that he's coming from a cemetery?
The quietest place.
It sounds like very, very peaceful neighbors to have.
uh, they don't complain too much.
Not too much. No, not too much. So I'm really honored that you agreed to have this talk with me and for taking the time. As you know by now, I love your work. We love your work. Everybody in the chat loves your work. And for me personally, I'd say it's especially your personal take and kind of twist on tarot. Because you, Patrick Valenza, the tarot, or the oracle decks. My favorite tarot deck is the one that I cannot seem to shut up about, the Trionfi Della Luna. Paradoxical.
Right.
um, and this deck certainly has become kind of a thing on my channel as well, just for me personally. So
Thank
yeah, thank you. I am curious to hear some ins and outs on that specific deck, but a little later on. I'd say now that I have the opportunity to ask straight from the source. um, so as I said, so many people in the tarot community love your work, and it all started with the Deviant Moon Tarot when you submitted it to US Games, right?
Yeah.
So, how did that take us back a little bit? How did that all start? You getting into making tarot decks?
I discovered tarot I was either 8 or 9 back in 75, 1975. just in a plain old suburban shopping mall. In one of the little nooks, they had an area that was had like a Tudor design to it, and it really had a nice old world dark feeling. And lo and behold, way in the back at the very last store, there was I guess it was a stationery store. They had a whole display of tarot cards, and I didn't know what they were, but for some reason they called to me, and I was like enamored over them. I couldn't stop looking at them. When I got home, I begged my parents to get me a tarot deck, and they thought, what does an 8-year old want with a tarot deck? And after 2 weeks or so of convincing, they finally took me back to that store. I grabbed the most ornate one that I could find. I'm pretty sure it was the Swiss Marseille's deck. And when I left the store and ripped open the package, I saw that it was in French. I didn't understand French at the time, and I really, really wanted to study these cards. I was really interested in learning everything. So we went back and we returned it for an English deck that I could understand, even though the artwork wasn't that great. And I went home. I started drawing my own tarot cards. When my friends were drawing Batman and Spider-Man or whatever, I was doing the Magician, the Fool, coming up with my own stories. And then when I was about 15, I tried to paint a deck that was kind of like old, religious, iconic kind of artwork with golden trimmings. I did 13 cards like that, and they were really oversized. They were pretty big, and I just my style changed and life moved on, and I kind of abandoned those 13 cards, and I actually lost them for about 10 years. I couldn't find them, and I found them finally stuffed in a book, and I always just wanted to finish that deck, just the majors. I just wanted to finish that, and then in 2004, I found them again. I took them out. I reimagined them, completed the majors, and then was ready to just move on to the next thing. And then I forgot where it was online, but I found the address for U.S. Games and their submission, uh, the website for the submissions. And I just said, what the heck? I took a chance, and then within a day or two, I got a contract for the deck, and I was actually really surprised. I thought, there's no way anybody's going to publish this thing. And then after that, it just took on a life of its own. I didn't get published till I was about almost 40. uh, I would make projects and then totally forget about them, stick them in the closet, put them under the bed, and move on to the next thing. I really created things just for me to get the ideas that I had out. Um,
Hmm.
my, my goal in life never was to be an artist. It was just to get those ideas out, and it could have went so many different ways. I could have became a writer or a musician. It's just that I think the tarot is me trying to create those tarot images is what made me learn how to draw. And U.S. Games has been an awesome company. They're like a family to me. And the cool thing about the Deviant Moon was I just wanted to get it published at the time. I didn't know that it would take on a life of its own and, create like, I guess, little groupies here and there
A
around the
fan base.
fan,
Yeah.
which was really awesome, totally unexpected, and very much appreciated too. And after that, it just grew. I mean, ideas just kept coming for other decks, oracles, and I still have a couple more in me that I have to get out. So hopefully soon I'll be able to get everything out that I have in my head.
Oh, that's so awesome. So awesome to hear. And I love that you are that you said you create just for the sake of creating.
Right.
Yeah, that's awesome. That means it comes straight from the heart. At least that's how I see it. And Deviant Moon started it all, um, and from there, all these other, I believe they were older sketches that you had. They turned into tarot decks as well, or oracle decks as well. Is you have created and released. Were able to release so many decks since. So how have these past few years been for you since the fan base
Oh, it's been
happened?
awesome. I guess they inspire the people who follow me inspire me to create things that I think that they would like, and I also create things that I like too. So there's like a nice meeting in the middle where I get to fulfill, my ideas, and hopefully the people out there like what I produce, or maybe not. Sometimes the projects keep going. When I think they're done, all of a sudden more ideas come for that project, and I'll take a little time to add things. For example, the Trionfi deck just keeps going. I mean, we had the Beast Pack expansion. I have other add-ons coming. It just keeps coming. Even though I'm involved in other projects, I like to take time to take a break from those projects, and I flip-flop back and forth. It's almost like ADHD of creativity. I'm here, I'm there, but I'm always focused. Even though I'm in a way multitasking, I'm always focused 100% on what I'm doing at the time. So it's not like it drains my thought process or anything like that. I'm always focused and concentrating on whichever project I'm flip flopping back and forth on.
Yeah, that's so good. It sounds actually like that flip-flopping works so that you can stay excited and about this project and the other one, and maybe the next idea can still flow through.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
yeah. Thank you.
And I mean, I feel almost personally lucky that the Trionfi Della Luna is the deck that just never stops. It seems there are different colorations out. And then now, one of your, I believe, one of your newest releases on Deviant Moon. I think you've shocked us all. I mean, you shocked me. I was shocked in a positive sense, of course, when you dropped that fully illustrated Trionfi della Luna, including a classic paradoxical version. How exciting!
Oh,
Um, you obviously went for it.
yeah. I when I first got into tarot, I was always disappointed that the pips were not illustrated until I found the Rider Waite deck. I thought that was cool. Even though I appreciate the old classic style and love it, and actually acquired a taste for it, I
Mm.
still wanted a version that had scenic pips, and I think that was the next step for the Trionfi della Luna. Not going from a Marseille's based style into the scenic, fully illustrated pips. So this deck has 36 pips re-illustrated and comes with 6 alternate devil cards. We have I like to draw little demon people, so we have 6 additional ones. So actually, there'll be in that deck a total of 8 little devils running around.
Wow, wow, so cool! I can't wait to meet them.
Well, hopefully, we were expecting it like the end of April, but it looks like it'll probably be the end of March. We'll be having those. Um, a lot of times with our printers, our overseas printers, they give us a date, and then with the way the world is, things get delayed, and sometimes we get them early, sometimes a little later, but it's always around that estimated time that we get them in.
Oh my gosh, can't wait! I can't wait. I
Thank
mean,
you.
I would have done the pre-order even if it said it'll be done in 6 years. I'll be there waiting.
Thank you.
um, I mean, I do wonder though. Maybe you explained it a little bit already, but how was the decision made to um, transform the Trionfi della Luna from a Marseille pip deck to scenic pips, rather than maybe, um, I don't know, starting another deck or how was that decision made for you?
I don't know. I just wake up in the morning, and then all of a sudden I'll get an idea, and I'll know right away if I should act on it or not. Right now, my main project is the Deviant Moon Oracle. I'm doing that for U.S. Games, and it's taking a longer time than I thought it would take. When I had the surgery, through my schedule off a little bit, but that's the main deck that I'm working on right now. But it takes so much focus to get through some of those card ideas that sometimes I need like to take a little break. And my break is to do another project. So I'll do something that I think is quicker to do, the style wise. Like for Trionfi della Luna, I think a card takes me about 10 hours to do, whereas a Deviant Moon can take me about 25 hours estimated. So it's for me, it's quicker to do, and I get it out of my system a little bit, and then I go back to the main project a little bit more refreshed and with different kinds of ideas, and it kind of works for me to keep everything fresh like that. But again, it's just you just wake up and all of a sudden you just have an idea and I just run with it and see what happens.
Yeah, that's awesome. Because it's so special to have a different version of a deck coming out in this way. I think this is unprecedented. Is that the word? I'm not sure.
Thank you. Yeah, even like with the Mildred Payne Oracle, I think I stopped at about 52 cards, and then she just kept calling and calling, and then I would make 15 or whatever, and then yeah, there she is,
Yeah.
and she's still calling for not for cards but for other things. I have a book coming for her too. Yeah,
Oh, awesome. Yeah, I was recently gifted this one. It's really surprising and cool. Cool little deck.
thank you.
Amazing.
Thanks.
Um, I actually like. I believe there were some different opinions, but not too strong. I actually like how there were no spoilers on the scenic Trionfi Della Luna.
Oh yeah, no pictures for this one. We just let's see what happens. Just put it out there when everybody gets it. Trust me, but if you like Trionfi Della Luna, you'll love what we did here. I think it came out really cool. Um, and it was not hard, but hard to keep the style the same, um, keeping it a little bit consistent. And then as the pips were getting created, I noticed that, of course, you have improvement in your style, so I just started to let it creep in a little bit. So, and I also did a couple cards with my left hand, my non-dominant hand. So that gives it a nice little touch in there too. So you have a double-handed deck in some of the cards. So it's up to you to figure out which one was with the right and which one was with the left.
Oh my gosh. Okay, that will be a game we'll play, I guess, on my channel. I was gonna almost ask you, do you remember which cards? But it's maybe best no spoilers, as you say. Um, okay, so obviously no spoilers, I get that, but I have been asked because I cannot take credit for all of these questions.
Mhm.
Um, is there anything that you can give us on these scenic pips? Because I believe we know all the majors except for those devils. I believe we know the courts. Um, are the pips maybe reminiscent of your Deviant Moon? Are they Rider-Waite-Smith inspired?
A little
Anything?
little bit of both. They're Rider Waite Smith inspired. Some of the images that Pixie Pamela Coleman Smith created, you just can't beat. For example, the Nine of Swords, the woman in the bed, hanging her head. Uh, how do you beat that? That's perfect. Some of them have variations, and then a couple are totally recreated ideas. So it's a mesh mix of uh, different influences there. So it has Deviant Moon style, it has Rider Waite influence, and it has just some new variations that totally new ideas on the cards. So we'll see what happens. It's total mix up.
Wow, wow, amazing. And so exciting. You know, I personally find a lot of meaning in your Marseille pips. I actually learned the that system uh, because of your deck, because I wanted to read with your deck.
Thank you. Great.
And I'm not alone, but maybe it's extra special for me because I'm actually half French and I'm supposed to know Marseille. But it was actually your deck that made me okay. Now I need to work with this deck, and so I need to understand it.
I'm honored. Thank you.
Um, so I wanted to ask. I'm not sure if it's a difficult question, but do the cards now with the scenic version, if you can recall, hold different meanings to
Uh,
you now that it went from Marseille to scenic?
uh, Different. I
Mm.
guess so. I guess so. Yeah, they would have different because there's visual cues are different. It's not just like for example, Marseille's the wands gets kind of boring. You sometimes have to count how many wands do you have there. In this, you have, you know, a visual cue of a scene going on. So I think it might be easier to read or different to read, or maybe might inspire you to think of something differently because you have a picture to look at. I don't know. We'll see what happens with that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Also, I think the meaning, obviously, you as an artist, it's yours as long as it's not shared with the world. And once it's shared, it also belongs to us, right?
Right.
And we can kind of make the meaning.
It takes on a life of its own, and you can never predict where it's going to go or how, you know, how it's going to run.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay, so what was the thought behind, maybe it's a practical thing, what was the thought behind the decision to make a 500 limited print run?
That's just a nice number, I think. It actually takes a long time to sell 500 decks. It could take sometimes with Mildred, it took, I think, a day to sell the first 150 that I produced. And then after that, it was like a week to sell 500. And it goes pretty quick. With the other ones, it could take a few months. And I think that's a good number, 500. It's not something that I want to mass produce. It was a little side thing that I did. And hopefully everybody likes it. I don't sign or number them. I don't have time to do all of that. So I just 500. I usually keep a couple for myself, or if some get lost in the mail, which happened with the Deviant Moon Paradoxical. We lost a lot of overseas.
Oh no.
Really, a lot. Overseas shipment is horrible these days. I
Mm.
mean, really bad. So there's always that to factor in. So 500 is a good number, and it works for us. You know, through the printer, the printing costs are really high these days, and yeah, pretty much that's why I do it.
Yeah, cool. So the majority of your decks, I I'm not sure how it works, but they are independently published, aren't they?
Yeah, the Deviant Moons through US Games, and also the Royal Mischief transformation playing cards are through US Games. The rest are independent through me, and the Deviant Moon Oracle will also be through US Games.
Oh yeah, awesome. Yeah, so I already got a question. People in the chat, if I cannot see who is a moderator, but please, if you are in there, help me out and write down the questions for to keep for the end. But I already found a question on the Deviant Moon Oracle. Please tell us more. Is there anything you can tell us?
It's going to be 56 cards. It's eclipse based, meaning there's a mixture of sun and moon kind of cards leading up to the sister deck, which is all based on the sun. The sister deck of the Deviant Moon has no title yet. It's also contracted through US Games. I have no idea when that will be ready, but it's coming soon. She's definitely the glorious sibling of the Deviant Moon. Um, this deck has beautiful cards and creepy cards mixed together, just like an eclipse would have two different sides to it. And a lot of it happens in the asylum, so it has a lot of that kind of backdrop, the old smokestacks, but also a natural background to nature and floral kind of things. So it's a mixture of the two sides, moon and sun.
Oh,
So
nice.
yeah, hopefully
Yeah.
it'll be done soon. I always say soon. I always it always takes way longer than I think it does. Even though I pretty much work nonstop, it just I give it the time it needs to evolve and develop, and I never rush it or just try to crank something out for the sake of getting it done. It takes
That's
as
so
long.
good.
You know.
Yeah, and US Games isn't uh rushing you or
No, they're the best. I mean, I was supposed to do a children's book with Stuart Kaplan, and the due date was 2009. I still have not. I'm still working on that too on the side.
wow, have we heard anything on this children's book?
I have a contract pretty much for 5 children's books, and I still have to finish number one. But I think I have a book that a working title called the Skeleton Book that will probably get pitched and come out first, and there might be an Oracle deck attached to that too.
Oh my gosh, so exciting. And it sounds like they trust you. It
Oh,
sounds like
they're awesome. I really miss Stuart. I had a couple of nice conversations with him over the phone. We used to talk about work ethic and how he started the company, and I met him a few times. Was really a great person, and would be greatly missed.
wow, yeah. That's actually so good to hear because I don't think tarot lovers know anything on this US games company, um, except that they make cool decks, you know, but it sounds like it's not that big corporate thing at all. It's actually quite different.
No, they're like a family, really.
Mm.
It's like a mom and pop kind of business. So, but going to their headquarters up in Connecticut was like a real treat. I was up there a couple times. When I was a kid, I used to look at the back of the U.S. Games decks and see, the address, and I always imagined that that has to be the coolest place in the world, like a castle, and that Stuart Kaplan is some kind of wizard, and what a great place to go. And then to finally actually go there, the inside was like a museum in there. I mean, all old antique decks and gaming memorabilia from 1700s. Absolutely amazing experience to get to go up there, and total honor to be invited there the times that I went.
Wow. That's amazing. It's like a little dream came true kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Um, Thank you, Lennon, for writing down the questions for me. I owe you. Um, I will, as I said, pester you on the Trionfi Della Luna specifically. But first, I would love to know a little bit more about you. What's your background, maybe religious background? How does that background or upbringing or anything of the kind that you can think of affect your relationship with tarot and art? So
um,
basically, you know, your view on tarot, view on life, how does that translate into the world of making tarot decks?
I'm open to anything. I can't pretend to know the answer to anything, or for anybody to pretend that they know precisely what the universe is all about. For me, the tarot is just something that is in me and calls to me and wants to be expressed, and I don't question where it comes from, or what norms I'm supposed to follow, or views or religion or dogma. I just produce what comes out of me. And I've had people in my life who have run away from me because I made tarot decks. People I've talked to for years stopped talking to me. Uh, People I've worked with stop talking to me. And it's like, I'm the same person. It's just, for me, it's just something that comes out. But I guess people have their own fears, their own beliefs, and sometimes they reflect back what they believe on what I produce. And I think it's crazy. I've had people come to my house and see the artwork on the walls and try to reprimand, oh, this is bad and whatever, and want to get out of the house in a hurry. And hey, whatever. But again, for me, my background, my mother didn't impose any views on me as a child. And like I said, I had to pester my parents to get me a tarot deck. And it wasn't because they were afraid of it or anything like that, or thought it had a bad connotation. It was just that, what does a kid want with one of these things for? Why am I spending $4 or whatever it was back then?
Mm.
On a comic book. Um, but for me, it's just that I don't pretend to know. I just let what comes out of me come out uninhibited.
Wow, that's amazing. And so disappointing when that happens with people. It's just misunderstanding and misinformation. But it's so good to hear that you just say that the tarot is something that calls to you from such an early age, and then it just wants to be expressed through
Hmm.
you, through your art. That's amazing.
Yeah. No, thanks.
Um, yeah, so you're into a lot of spooky or creepy stuff, as people like to say. I mean, I'm not such a fan of those terms, but I think people understand what I mean with that. But you don't see it as such, right?
No,
How
not at all.
did that happen?
Not at all. As a child, like I was saying, Long Island has four abandoned insane asylums, and there wasn't anywhere you can go where I lived where you couldn't see the smokestacks lurking behind the trees. And being 5 years old, you'd ask your parents, what is that? And my mother used to tell me that one of them was called Boogeyman Island. That's all that I needed to hear was there are boogeymen in there. The boogeyman lives there, and I'd imagine, what goes on there at night. What do they run around? Do they have parties? And it would just feed my imagination. And I
Mm,
also used to live very close to a few old cemeteries like the one I'm in right now. And as a child, a friend of mine and I used to go and play in there. Respectfully, we would just look at the tombstones and read and sit under a tree and talk, and it was just a great place to be. And so there was never any fear of it or anything like that. And to me, it's not spooky at all. It's history. It's a place to be solemnly respectful and learn things and wonder about the past and who lived before you. And I I love it. So to me, it's never spooky. It's never scary. Even the insane asylums, I loved exploring them. When I finally did go inside a couple of them, and it's just history to me, just intriguing. And I don't also try to categorize it as anything but uh, a thing that I'm interested in for whatever reason. I don't even try to rationalize or make sense out of it. It's just if it's something that calls to me, I go for it.
yeah, yeah, we are so on the same page right there. Because I was gonna reply, I love history and it's so intriguing. It's not spooky at all. And then you use those exact terms.
That's
And
fun,
it's just a part of your personality, isn't it? It's just not
right?
something that you can explain. It's just what
No,
feels real and, yeah, where you feel at home kind of thing.
absolutely. Yep.
Because, I really like that a lot. And I obviously feel the same way, you could say. Uh, it does feel though still. I feel like your decks and then what you just explained, it does have that kind of outcast energy. At least to me, it does.
Hmm.
It is still about feeling different, not fitting in. Uh, Things that are misunderstood usually because people don't are rather afraid of it rather than taking the time to get to know it, running away from it, and we kind of just run towards it. Um, yeah, where do you feel all of that came from? Is it the same, just your environment, or?
I don't know. I don't know if I was just born with that in me. Uh, as a child, I always had memories that I couldn't account for. What they were, I have no idea. Places, people, events. It was just memories that I had pre-programmed in my head. Uh, I would dream about them. I would draw pictures about them, and I guess I was seeking out things that were in the real world that would connect to the memories that I had in my head. And one thing just led to another, and here I am.
Yeah, exactly. Um, so those things obviously inspire you. I also know that you get a lot of inspiration from your dreams. Is that nonstop? Does that keep happening?
Yeah, I'll sometimes wake up and have idea. My ideas never stop. It's a good thing, but a bad thing because I'll never be able to complete stuff. So I have to kind of pick out the strongest things that I think I can hit and actually accomplish. But I have tons. I mean, mountains of sketchbooks that are just basically ideas, not even to draw or make things beautiful. There's just scribble ideas that just come nonstop, and yeah, a lot of them happen at night. A lot of them will happen when you're just taking a walk. Like whole ideas will just literally come out of nowhere. Not doing art. I can't sit down and come up with an idea. I have to be walking or moving or sleeping when your mind opens up a little bit, and they just literally form out of nowhere, which is, like I said, kind of cool. But at the same time, sometimes it's overbearing because there's so many of them.
Yeah, and then your conscious mind has to make the decision to choose the best one, or out of all of
Right.
those options. Yeah. So all right. So you just said you need to walk around. You need to be doing something or dreaming to create your art. Is there anything else that you need? A certain setting, maybe music?
Um, Music comes on after I'm like underway with the artwork, and I'll put on old '70s music, corny top 40, the music that doesn't go with the artwork, like you know, family or something like that, something like. Um, but for coming up with ideas, I developed a habit of pacing back and forth, and I can literally pace for hours back and forth or around a certain pathway, and the ideas just come like that. I have to always be moving in order for those ideas to come out. Again, if I sat at a desk with a blank piece of paper and tried to come up with something, it would never happen. Have to be moving or doing something that's not art related. Um, Taking a shower, riding a bike, or driving in the car. Something where I'm not at a desk. I have to be physically up and moving in order for the subconscious to kick in for me.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so interesting because you kind of just go the other way in order to make art happen, in a sense. Because as an artist, are you inspired by other artists?
Right, right. Let the not so much artists. Pretty much as a kid, I used to like. I don't know if you know them up where you are. They were called wacky package stickers. They were parodies on products in the store. Mad magazine, I used to like that, and just drawing with my friends was really great as a kid. We had a lot of competition. My classmates were all budding artists, and we used to compete with each other. And I had some really creative classmates, and that was invaluable to me as a kid. And just seeing old medieval art, I love 18th century satire illustrations, that kind of stuff. And I actually removed all the artwork of my own in my house and replaced it with that kind of artwork, which is great. Authentic antique illustrations. That I'm actually getting more inspired now than I was younger with that kind of artwork, which is interesting.
Yeah, amazing. Because I've noticed, actually, that's a question for later, but I noticed that a lot of the, obviously, the deck, I bonded with most is a new rendition on a historic deck, obviously, or several historical decks. Um, but then a lot of the extra cards also, they come from this very old artwork, right? So that's the type of artwork you have in your home now,
Yeah,
I think.
yeah.
Yeah.
Old ink etchings and antique drawings. I just love it. And for the Trionfi Della Luna, I studied, historical decks and the symbolism, all the way back to the medieval times, and really tried to incorporate what I learned into the deck to, bring out my experience in exploring that kind of work into the deck. Not just putting anything in a card. It had a lot of historical connections to it. For example, the elephant in Temperance in the back of that card. If you're familiar with that card, there's an elephant in the back. That was something that went with Temperance back in, I think, like the 1400s. Really interesting stuff that I found in learning about that kind of artwork.
Yeah, I had no idea that that was a historic
Yeah, there's that little elephant in the back. Just
yeah.
interesting little, you know, and just learning about all of the symbolism. I mean, there's so many variations, and then coming up with a twist of your own, so you're not repeating what everybody did over the ages.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, that's so cool. And then you do you keep a type of record of it? Do you know then what that elephant is supposed to mean, or if it has any meaning, or
I wouldn't write it down, and I would just, as I go, as I would explore, I would, let my hand create as I'm learning. Uh, I wouldn't jot down any notes or anything like that. It would be all visual, and
yeah,
just let my subconscious feed my subconscious with what I learned, and just let it come out later.
exactly. Um, I read somewhere in um, an older interview, old text, that upon creating the Deviant Moon tarot, you said that the idea behind the card was always the most important aspect to deal with, and that art then came second for
Yes,
you.
absolutely, absolutely. The idea was always is always first for me. The idea comes first, and then the artwork will just follow after it. I mean, it's like the foundation of a house. You need that strong foundation for the house to be. No matter how pretty the house is, if the foundation or the idea isn't strong, the house is just going to fall apart. And so, like for the Deviant Moon and for all the other decks, I would focus so much on each particular card, getting them to be strong, and then laying them out as you go to make sure that they're cohesive together as a deck. Not just a bunch of illustrations; that they actually have a theme to them, a beginning and an end. I think decks should have a beginning card, an end card, a middle, because they do tell a story, especially the oracle cards. Um, for example, even Mildred Payne, uh, her deck, there's a fetus as the first card, and then all of its endings. It had a couple of endings because we kept adding on to it. But
Yeah,
there was the star card, there was the Ankh card. Um, you know, it should have a beginning and an end to it. There's the first one of that one.
yeah, definitely. Cool. Um, so yeah, so the actually the making a whole, that's wonderful, because I see the tarot and then oracle, why not, as a type of book of life. And
Mhm.
so the underlying meaning is very important, that it makes a whole story. So it's just so good to hear that this is still the case for you, that you are s- do you still read the tarot for yourself?
No, I don't read for myself or read for others. I know the decks backwards and forwards.
Mm,
I know a lot, but putting it all together, I've seen so many people online and who I've met that just have a natural gift for interpreting the spreads. I don't particularly have that gift, so as a kid, I used to read for my friends, which was kind of interesting in the playground, being 10 years old with a pack of tarot by the swings and out, and freaking people out. It was kind of fun.
definitely. I mean, I was alone in the attic, pretending to play tarot, or to read tarot with little weird looking playing cards. You were actually on the playground.
Yeah, we took them.
It's so nice. Oh wait, there was something I forgot. Uh, I'm drawing a blank. Guys, help me out. So yeah, reading the tarot for yourself. I think that was it. Um, yeah, I wanted to say, it's, knowing the tarot and being in love with this uh, art form, in a sense, you could say. I don't think it's necessarily about reading it, because you don't have to read the tarot to know it. There are different ways of knowing it, and I think yours is very personal. You make your own, and you kind of channel your own style on it. So I think that's actually pretty cool.
Oh, thank you.
um, all right, so I do want to know, do you have uh, what do you prefer to draw, if there's a preference at all? The Marseille style, or maybe the more scenic Redowitz Smith type of it?
They both have different challenges and different things that are fun to do. of course, the Marseille is more ornate, so there's a design element coming up with interesting, patterns and floral arrangements around cups or something like that. That's always fun. But I'm a storyteller, so I kind of like the scenic, working on that better for me as an
Mm-hmm.
artist. But either way, I mean, I love doing them both. The
Yeah,
scenic
that's.
to me is a little more challenging because you have to come up with a whole, story. Yes, those are
Oh
always fun to
yeah.
do. Getting them symmetrical and weaving vines around things.
Oh yeah, I can imagine.
I'm a people person, so I love to draw people.
Yes, definitely. Um, I'll get to this deck. I'll get to this deck. I want to leave it to the end. All my burning questions. I do want to know. Is there any other form of, I don't know, divination or spiritual practice that you maybe have or do and wish to share? Does the world of magic or the occult, as people say, interest you?
Not as a practicing thing, but I'm always drawn to interesting uh, realms like that. I'm always in shops and exploring books and imagery and stories in that nature. But as a practicing magic or anything like that, I don't do any of that.
Hmm. Yeah. And
I did as a
you
kid though. I
yeah,
used to have seances as a kid.
you did?
Oh yeah,
What
all the
what would that
time.
look like?
Uh, the whole thing. We would try to contact this or that. And one time I was about maybe 8 or 9, and I was hired to be the ghostly knocks at a seance in somebody's garage. A bunch of teenagers and I guess 20-year olds. They were having a seance and they picked the right person. I was supposed to go in and hide, and it was a total farce. And I was the person knocking on the door and 3 knocks and whatnot. So yeah, we used to do that as as kids.
So cool. You were the ghost.
Yeah, I was the
And in case some of them didn't figure it out, this is your confession, I guess. So all right, so you don't necessarily read the tarot, but how does that work for you? You create a deck. Do you have any of the decks that you created near you? Do you still, I don't know, flip through them, look through them? Where do they go for you?
um, Actually, I don't look at them anymore. After they're done, I put them away. I move on to the next thing. It's to me that's like uh, the result of a finished deck is like I don't know how I can say it, like a waste product of the experience. It's like I made it, it's over, and what's next? That's just the experience of creating it for me is what it was all about. And once it's done, now I move on to the next experience and keep moving on to the next project. It's like how could I say the Beatles don't listen. I don't think they sit around and listen to their old music. They're doing something else, or or a writer doesn't reread their book. They probably put it away and just move on to the next thing.
Yeah, absolutely. That's such a logical comparison. I didn't even think of it that way. But yeah, it's so nice. Obviously, we definitely use the decks. We definitely read the decks, so it's does keep going in that sense.
Hmm.
Um, I, if is there any out of all the decks that you've created? I mean, I didn't mention them. Wait, uh, people know, but um, Deviant Moon Tarot, Deviant Moon Oracle is then in the making. Is that correct?
Yes,
Yeah, yeah.
uh,
Garden of
we
Lucid
have.
Daydreams. I saw that.
Well, that was a fun one. That was a little experiment that I did where I would take afternoon naps. My second sleep pretty much, and I would just see things. And I started jotting down what I would see. So the challenge was to wake up and produce a card in an hour. And sometimes it would take a little longer, sometimes a little less, but it was from idea to completion in an hour. And that took about 2 months or so to do that. And I never missed. It was really great. I would wake up. At first, I would be like, "Oh my god, I don't have an idea," and then it would just come, like the other mind would open up, and I would have a card, and I would be done. And there was no sketching, no planning. It was just whatever happened happened. And that's a great example of a beginning and end oracle with a story in the middle. It just
Yeah.
flowed.
Wow, that's so nice to hear. It's the behind the scene concept of the deck, because obviously the deck is a story in itself. But then behind the scenes, it's also it has to be done. Every card needs to be done within an hour or so.
Right?
So cool.
So it was part inspiration, part whip. There was constraints or restrictions on it. I couldn't just mull over an idea. It had to be done quick, but inspirationally too. So it had the best of both worlds.
Definitely. So out of all of those decks, could you choose? Do you have a favorite deck that you created?
I like the Oracle of Black Enchantment. Actually, Mildred Payne created that one. That was her deck. Uh, I like the old world witchy wood blocky style, and that's pretty much what I like. For like the Deviant Moon, I'm starting to get where I like to be looser and less reliant on photography and computer, and just a little bit more organic and natural. So like the Trionfi I like, and a lot of the looser ink kind of artworks I like better now.
Yeah, because I don't know how this process then goes, but is there an in Deviant Moon it's partially computer art or fully? I'm not sure. How does that what is there some computer involved in this? I mean, obviously, but how does that differ?
With the Deviant Moon, it's kind of it gets kind of tedious because you have to uh, scan a sketch into the computer, and then I would overlay different kinds of photographic sources onto it, and then manipulate them and shade them and experiment. And if I didn't like something, I'd pull it out and put things back in and change the color. And uh, a lot of work, a lot of kind of like boring kind of work, where it's a lot of technical um, processes to get that done. Whereas the Trionfi, it's very loose. It's with a ink, a brush. You just paint and then just color it and scan it into the computer. It's a little bit different. It's more freeing. The Deviant Moon is more, like I said, technical and takes a lot longer to do.
Hmm. Um, right. So, I mean, I'm looking. I have my pristine Trionfi deck just right here, which is this is the one in order, so I can just get a card. Um, I was wondering because I made two entire videos on this and studied obviously your deck. uh, do the numbered pips, right? These ones,
Mm-hmm.
do the or numbered minors, do they include hints maybe of the Rider-Waite-Smith or typical meaning in the artwork?
I didn't rely on that at all. It was historical, way before Rider and Rider Waite, so it goes along those lines.
Hmm. Yeah. I mean, I figured, but then, staring at a card long enough, stuff starts to happen. And I still use all the little squiggles and thingies as meaning, as
But
message of the card.
you never know, because a lot of the times I do things without thinking, and going back, like when I would do the little white books on a lot of the decks, I'd have to go back and re-examine what I did, and sometimes I don't even know that I put certain things in there. So there could be anything in these cards, really.
Yeah, it's a kind of like a treasure hunt.
Hmm.
Um, And do the Trionfi court cards, they kind of look uh, a little bit like animals to me. Do they look like animals on purpose?
Um, no, they're basically the cousin of the Deviant Moon, so they have lunar faces. I know it's a little difficult to see in the reversed paradoxical version, but they're old world Deviant Moon type citizens, uh, lunar based faces, pretty much.
Yeah, those lunar faces. Obviously, it's big part of your work and your style. I mean, it starts right there in the Fool. Um, I think I know the answer, but are they supposed to be then masks, or are they part of a face? Is it just that it's a moon? How did that happen? That style.
I think it's just inspiration that I always would get from the moon. And I always loved moon faces from the 1800s. And so it's a little bit split face where they have the conscious and subconscious minds working at the same time, just like the light side and the dark side of the moon. And they just kind of melded like that. The original Deviant Moon was based on Greek styled uh, figures where they would have circular eyes, and a lot of the work was in profile. And when I first started doing the Deviant Moon, I realized kind of quickly that having only characters in profile would get kind of boring. So I split the face up and I just darkened one of the halves and would give it like a half closed eye. And
Hmm.
it just evolved as I was going. But again, it
Yeah,
was
that's
based
so cool.
on Greek style.
Yeah, yeah, that's so funny because it's then almost like a solution to not only have profile, but then there's so much meaning actually that comes along with it, and it fits Deviant Moon. Uh, was the title of your deck and the company, did that come then after those half moon faces, or
Yeah,
was it
the
already?
the Deviant Moon title. When I first did the majors, and I did the majors, 22 majors. It took me 2 years to do that, and I was just ready to forget about them and go to the next project. And I prepared to submit them to U.S. Games, and I still had no title to it at all. And just taking one of my walks, it just clicked to me. I knew I wanted Moon in the title, and then
Mm.
Deviant came out of nowhere as a gift, and I submitted it the next day, and that's pretty much how it came about. And so Deviant Moon, now that it was a moon-based type of deck, that influenced the minors, because at that time I had not created the minors yet. I just created and submitted the majors, and it influenced the characters. So if you notice in the Deviant Moon, the minor characters are much more lunar than the major characters. Yeah, they get much more lunatic, lunar style.
Yeah,
So
for
that's where
sure.
the title influenced the art.
Oh, exactly. Oh, yeah, that's nice. That's some world building there. I'm wondering about that. Are all your creations, your decks, are they part of the same world? Are they all connected? Because I mean, it's an
They're
incredible world
connected
building.
through me. I mean, each.
Yeah,
Oh, absolutely. And I know I forgot where I saw it. You made a map, a fantasy map of one of the decks. Is that what I saw? That
definitely.
was awesome. By the way, that was great. Yeah. So like Mildred Payne has her own world. The Deviant Moon has its own world, and again they mix. I guess I'm the common denominator
Yeah,
that links them
exactly.
all together.
Because this was a thought of one of my friends. They said maybe. Wait, where's the question? Um, Obviously, in the Deviant Moon, there's an asylum in there, Fenwood Asylum, and then
Right.
the idea is this then a separate story, or is this an asylum within the world of these decks, perhaps, or perhaps all the decks emerge from this asylum? I mean, asylum is kind of a core thing I feel there, except there's none in the Trionfi, I believe.
No, Trionfi is totally different. Doesn't have any Fenwood relations, but it's all there. It's all the same. The people often ask what Fenwood Asylum is, and I should tell you, you'll be the first I tell that it is my bedroom where I lived as a kid. I lived in these very creepy old apartments that were called Fenwood Gardens, and I swear the apartments were haunted. Scary stuff in there, and weird basements, and we used to explore the attics in these old apartments. And my bedroom was Fenwood Asylum, and I used to sit there and create things all the time, looking out my window at the old smokestacks of these apartments. The smokestacks were I guess, the burners, and they had incinerators too over there for garbage, and it just a creepy place. And that's where Fenwood Asylum comes from.
Oh wow, I can imagine that's a creepy place, and you've made a lot of people happy, including myself, to say what Fenwood, where that name came from.
And actually, what's funny, there's an editor at U.S. Games who actually lived there too. And when we got into talking, uh, she's like, "I can't believe we lived in the same apartment complex." And she says, "You're right. That place was scary as hell. It was a creepy, old, rundown, uh, um, a, almost abandoned-looking place. Brick walls and
Wow.
chimneys and crusty old windows. Really, very strange, ominous kind of place."
Is it still there?
Yeah, it's still there. They they upgraded into condos, but it's still creepy.
Oh, too bad. Oh, it's still creepy. Okay, good. We could do
Yeah.
a Deviant Moon tour, New York. Um, yeah, I mean that's amazing. Um, the world building. I feel your decks are very, very just suitable for that. I mean, you said you saw the you saw the map.
Oh,
Maybe I don't know.
that was cool.
Yeah, it really helps. It really helps. Well, actually, it doesn't. It's not so much an exercise as something that you just kind of start seeing, like, oh, this is actually the underworld. This is actually the paradoxical, flipped upside down. I mean, that's how I feel about this deck. And then yeah, you get to see there's a city there. But then with the Garden of Lucid Daydreams, obviously it's a garden, and it felt flipping through that deck um, that it could be then still the same realm as the Trionfi, because it could be the before the city was built,
Hmm.
maybe, so that's how those connections and questions start to happen. Was this deliberate? Am I seeing this? Am I imagining it? But it's great.
Thank you, Anna.
So I do want to know how did you come up with making the paradoxical versions, because I believe that too is something that hasn't been done before.
Yeah, no, now I see lots of inverted decks. But originally, what happened with that one was I accidentally hit the inverted button on something. One of the cards, and it was great. I liked it, and I inverted the whole thing. And I released the Trionfi first, and then I said, you know what? Let's see what happens with this one. And that one was a great uh, experiment that worked out really well. And then we tried different colors. Let's see what happens. I'm always experimenting. So some colors look good, some didn't look so great. Like I tried a green one, it didn't look good at all. The purple and the blue look good, and even the rose color looks really good. People like those. So I try things. I'm lucky enough that I am able to produce things and put it out there. And if it works, it works. If it doesn't, there's the blue one. That's from the Beast pack.
Yeah. No, that is so great. And then okay, so you pushed a button, which is of course really funny and experimenting. But then the to me brilliant idea to make them glow under black light. I mean, Is
Yeah.
that a decision, or
No,
did they just glow under black light?
it just happened to glow. A happy accident. Under
Really?
Yeah, just an accident, and they look really cool. We like those too.
Yes, they do look really cool. I actually, as you may know, bought a black light
Oh,
for
really?
these decks.
Yeah, it has to be fluorescent. It can't be like a bulb. Uh, uh, Black light.
Sorry, connection issues there a little bit, but
Yeah. Are we
yeah.
back? I don't know if it's.
Yes, we're back. We're back, I think. And you said it has to be fluorescent.
Yeah, the fluorescent really works well on those. The bulbs just don't pick up the glow as strongly.
Oh, well, good to know. Good to know. People in the chat, if you want to do things right, have a seance version of the paradoxical, then you know what to do. Um, so, okay, back to what we talked about a little earlier, the historical prints that some of these cards
Mhm.
are inspired by. So you do know where they came from, etc. Is there any way that we can, the people who like to do the homework, the crazy homework on these decks, that we can find these prints? Because okay, um, there is the lightning card. No, wait, the House of God card, I believe, comes from a historical print, right?
Oh,
Or
historical
the
car.
Judgment card.
Yeah, there. It's just throughout history and like for the mouth of hell for the judgment. I mean, that's a common medieval kind of artwork. There's all different variations of that. So there's really not one source. They're just old, historic decks and manuscripts. I couldn't even
Yeah.
go back and tell you exactly where I saw half of anything that I found over the years.
Yeah, no, exactly. Well, that will be my homework. I found a few. I found a few.
Like
So I'll just keep going. Sorry, what did you say?
it's like a treasure hunt. You explore and find things and say, hey, that looks like this, or oh, this is where that inspiration came from, or
Yeah, exactly.
and
Exactly. Sorry, connection again.
I know it's clicking out over here.
Is it still okay to keep going? I
Yeah,
know
we're
it's
good.
already over an hour. Ooh.
That's okay.
Okay, cool. Because I really wanted to ask you on the extension pack. I have the blue here, and I have the uh, classic paradoxical,
Oh,
the
right.
beast pack, I should say. These are also versions of antique playing cards because I've seen a version of this in Paris in a playing card museum. Do you
Mhm.
have any idea? Because I mean, I love them as animals who inhabit that world. Maybe they are someone's pets or they live in someone's garden, something like that. But do you have any idea how these are used
They're
typically?
from old. Uh, I don't know how to pronounce it. Tarok
Yeah,
decks,
Taroki.
playing in playing cards. There you go. Too. I had a an animal pack. It was from Belgium. I think it was from 1790. I'm not too sure. And I loved it. And I wanted to create my own version of a creature or beast pack. And it fit perfectly with the Trionfi as an add-on. And we called it the beast pack. I believe it's 22 cards. We added a Bacchus card too into that as an alternate to the Pope or the Hierophant.
Yeah, definitely. That was such a cool twist on it.
And that might keep going too,
So,
because those original had a king, queen, knight, and a knave. So I might actually turn that into a deck on one of the extra
oh,
projects that I do.
oh wow. Well, if you keep going, we're gonna have an alternate card for every card in the deck, which obviously wouldn't mind. So nice. Um, right. Okay. Due to the time, I'm cutting a few questions. I do want to know, well, people want to know, are there any more Trionfi Della Luna colorations coming out?
No more variations. I'll see how the new illustrated pips decks go. If I do a different color of blue or something, I don't have any plans to do it. I might do it. We'll have to see what happens. A lot of people have been asking for a rose paradoxical for that, which might happen too. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. And then the other projects, I guess we already talked about those a little bit. Um, but you have this oracle deck. What's it called again? The Deviant Moon Oracle.
Moon
But then
Oracle.
there's also, yeah, the eclipse based, and then the Deviant Moon sister deck, the Sun,
Right.
based on the Sun.
Right. The
Yeah.
sister. I don't have a title for that yet. That's also contracted with U.S. Games, and that'll come out. I don't know. I don't know when. I'll say 3 years from now, but don't hold me to
Yeah.
it. No.
Yeah, no, I mean, this is still so cool because um you talk about all of these ideas, and then it goes quiet for a little while, then all of a sudden we're all surprised by, oh my god, it actually happens. Trionfi della Luna illustrated pips, so we're still all super happy and surprised about this.
Thank you.
uh,
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm always working, and then all of a sudden something's actually finished, and then it can get it out there to everybody.
Yeah, exactly. So this sister deck, the sun deck that doesn't have a title yet. Um, are there any cards or anything about it that we can already take a
Uh,
sneak peek?
I don't have any finished cards for that. I have a lot of ideas, tons of ideas actually, but I haven't produced anything yet.
All right, all right. Well, we'll be surprised. um, is there, maybe a little bit of a random question, but I got this question: is there a suit in the tarot that you most resonate with?
Uh, they're like four different children. You like them all for different reasons. Um, I don't know. I guess I like. I don't know. I guess I like the swords. Swords are fun. Then I like the pentacles too, and I like the pentacles as coins too. So, um, like I said, it's like four different kids or four different pets. Couldn't pick one. You love them
Yeah.
all for different reasons.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. It's just like picking a favorite card. Any thoughts on that?
Favorite card?
Mm,
Um, favorite card in general? You mean any tarot, or
yeah,
I guess I, Nine of Swords. I like that card. I like that image.
yeah, yeah. Knight of Swords. I
Or,
also like your
and then
image.
oh, thanks.
Last time I remember with Simon from Hermit's Cave. Yeah, did I say that correctly? Yeah. Um, uh, you got in the chat a lot of what's it called? Like requests to uh to marry. Like the people went like, oh, marry me, marry me.
Yeah.
That was so hilarious.
Oh, that's fun.
um yeah, so let's go through the chat. Is this the way to do it? I already saw a few questions. Please retype your question, and then Lennon is also there to help me with the questions. I'm quickly hopping over to YouTube. So wait, the image of the Nine of Swords in the Trionfi is, I also like that a lot, with the sword, the bloody sword in the front.
Oh
See
yeah.
that? I mean, you've seen it obviously, but people in the chat, I really like that. It's like it's just a different way than I believe in regular Marseille. It's just this cool um, detail that actually has a lot of meaning. Like we're alone right now in this moment, and then the sword is not going through the curved swords, but actually right in front. So maybe it hurts a little bit more in this way, but it's yeah, just one moment. And then I explained this in detail in this video where I tried to dissect all of these little things in the pips. So all of those images, I mean, yeah, they just give a lot in meaning, whether it was deliberately done or not. Um, all right, so here are the questions. I am taking questions. Ooh, someone's asking Toth. Will you do a Toth-based deck?
Uh, I can never say never, but probably not.
Yeah. I mean, I like Toth, but it doesn't really. I feel Rider-Waite-Smith and Marseille and this older historical decks like Marseille. Maybe you are more interested in.
Yeah, Toth is the Toth is the Toth. You know, it is what it is, and I don't see any connection to it.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, I agree. Someone is crying in the chat, but I agree. All right. So when will the skeleton oracle be released? Any ideas?
That's I have orders of projects. You know, an order that I'm working in. There's the Deviant Moon Oracle for U.S. games that I hope to be finished by this summer. I probably said that last summer and the summer before that, but it looks like it'll definitely be done uh, within the next few months. After that, I want to move on to a book that I've had an idea for since I'm 7 years old called The Skeleton Book, although that's not the real title, that's a working title. And I think that there's an oracle that will be based off of that too. So that'll be a 2-for-1 project. A skeleton oracle and a skeleton book. Again, not the correct title. That's real. That I like that book. That's gonna be really awesome. That's very photographic manipulations where there are um, the skeleton engravings on tombstones are actually little characters that run around, and there's a burning crow, and they go through the underworld, and it's really a cool story that I just can't wait to actually get to work on. That's going to take me a while to produce though, but that's the next thing. And then after that, I'd like to work on the Deviant Moon sister deck.
Wow.
And I
Yeah.
also need to the Mildred Payne book that I've have a ton of notes on. So I'd like to put that together too.
Yeah, because she just keeps giving more. I mean,
Oh,
just keeps
she's got
unfolding this story.
there's a lot to that one, so that's really cool.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's going to take me
So
forever to do.
exactly.
Little,
But so much to look forward to. Um, all right. Skipping some questions already asked. Will there be a spell sheet, collections book, or oracle deck?
I have a gigantic uh, spell sheet book. I guess that's what you call it, grimoire. It would be called. Uh, I haven't really posted any pictures of that, but I may be producing that as a book. That's really cool. It's all spells and weird kinds of things like that. Very inky and medieval and old world and tons of illustrations. That thing is about 400 pages, so I'd like to get that out one of these days.
Wow, amazing. Even more to look forward to. Incredible. um, can can you elaborate or explain what the 7 gifts mentioned in the Abandoned Oracle are?
Yeah, there's 7 gifts there. They all are depicted with curtains as they're being presented. There's actually an eighth gift that doesn't have curtains, and that's the poison bottle. And what they are, I've yet to decipher. It's just, again, I have a second mind in me, a subconscious mind that produces stuff for me. And sometimes I have to go back and examine what it is that came out. Especially when I had to write the book for the Deviant Moon. It was like exploring the aftermath of something. I had to go and decipher what I just produced, and I came up with and discovered things that I didn't even know that I did until I really examined them. So I have yet to examine what those 7 or 8 gifts really are, what their connections are. But there's something subconsciously. I just consciously haven't figured out what it is.
Yeah, exactly. It's nice this process how that goes. Um, yeah, the intuition is there, and then maybe the art is there before the the
Exactly.
idea, full
Yeah.
idea. Yeah. Yeah, someone is asking, will you show any of the images of the miners in your deck on the website? But I think that's about the illustrated pips, and the answer would be no.
No, I'm gonna wait till everybody has it and just let I could show everything. I could show a couple, but I think it's gonna be more fun. I mean, people who have the Trionfi deck know the style of that and what those cards are. So I think it'd be you already know where that deck's going. So let's just save those new illustrated miners as a surprise.
Right,
So no
cool.
spoilers. Like for
No
example, if I go
spoilers.
watch a movie, if I go to see a movie, I love not even knowing what the movie is about or what anything about it. I like going in there and oh wow, I didn't know this was a drama or a thriller. Just going in there blind is fun sometimes. So we did it with this one.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. That's nice. And it's almost like a more old school approach. Trailers these days give away the entire movie, and
The whole
then
movie,
maybe also, yeah, and then maybe also with Tarot Tube, we tend to check out the whole deck, whereas that wasn't usually possible. Uh,
right?
yeah, a few years ago. I have a question here, Patrick. Do you plan on releasing any more of your decks as an app?
That was with Fool's Dog. They approached me to do that, and they switched over to a different company. So it wasn't really me who produced that. We licensed the deck to them. So if they approach and it looks good, I'll definitely release it as an app.
Wow, that's cool. You really do a little bit of everything. If it sounds
Yeah,
like.
everything around.
I don't understand this question, but then maybe you do because I don't know everything. How many projects stand in between the production of Tarot of Black Enchantments?
Uh,
Tarot of Black Enchantments.
right.
Oh,
That's by Rose Payne. That's Mildred's mother. She produced a kind of old world. Um, the kind of tarot deck you would find in an old fortune teller's caravan cart, you know, something like that. Uh, that I don't know when that's coming, but that's definitely one of the in between projects we talked about. I take a break from the main project, move on to the mini projects, and back and forth. So that one's coming soon too. I don't know when, but it's there.
wow. Well, thank you so much. I'm sorry to have kept you
Oh,
so
that's
long.
having me. I really appreciate it. It's a pleasure, an honor to finally get to chat with you.
Yeah, pleasure's all mine. I mean, that's so cool. You guys, there are some more questions coming in, but I think you might have a tired arm there, and you need your hands rested to create this beautiful art that we all enjoy. So,
Thank you.
so yeah, again, thank you so much for agreeing, to have a chat with me on my channel. Your contribution to the tarot community is really great. So we all want you to know that, and
Thank
let me know when you'll come and visit Amsterdam.
Oh, I'd love to come down there. Come up there anyway. Thank you so much, Anna.
Thank you so much. All right. This is it, I think. Have a wonderful rest of the weekend, right?
Take care. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye. Bye, guys.